Good evening. Welcome. I'm Roberta Cremoncini, the director of the Estorick collection, and welcome this evening for this lecture with Renato Miracco, which we will introduce in a second. First of all, I would like to share some housekeeping points. Probably would be easier if everybody can switch off the screen and the video record, so the streaming would be better. And we will be very happy to have some questions at the end. You can write them in the chat and we will be able to answer, or at least we'll try. And also it is a great pleasure to welcome Renato. Renato and I have been working together for a long time. Probably when I first arrived at the Estorick collection, it was one of the first exhibitions we organized together. So it's been really exciting for us to work again together. Unfortunately, and this is I was just thinking earlier, it's very unusual the fact throughout this exhibition we haven't met physically once. Everything has been done during the last 2 years. Lockdown of through screens and phone calls and lots of emails. And we hoped to welcome Renato here to see the show, because it's been curated by him, but hanged by myself. But it's been it's a shame, but at least we have the pleasure of having him talking about Bichalanzari. Renato started working on Bichalanzari very long time ago. I remember when we did an exhibition on abstraction in 2004, we discussed Bice Lazzari, and so it's been a great passion of his, and definitely will be very interesting to hear what he said. The exhibition is on the museum, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, until the 24th of April. And also you will be able to buy the catalog online and everything else connected with that. I think without adding any more, I think I'll ask Renato to introduce the lecture this evening, and if you want to share his screen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Roberta. It's true, totally true, that Estorick collection is one of my home around the world, one of my favorite one. And so yes, I was going around for a long time, and I'm particularly just found in love with Bichalanzari. The first exhibition I did about Bichalanzari was in 1991, so a few days ago, and I had just the privilege to be in the archive when the archive was just building up, because Bice was passed away in 1981. So 10 years after I had just the chance to see this incredible archive, I had just the chance to see all the letters, all the writings, all the interview. And along this year, I was organizing sometimes the beautiful, I don't have to say, my beautiful exhibition about Bice. Every single time, just understand deeply which is her modernity. This is why with Roberta we decided just to have the title Modernist Pioneer. We deal like abstract or abstraction, because it's really strange. Now you can see only figurative abstraction, all the grade of gray between white and black. It's totally unknown, and we try just to put in a box some kind of artist who doesn't deserve just to put in a box. Then every single time I talk about Bice, but every single time I talk about women in art in the 20th century, I say, please close your eyes. I think there are no lights. Bice was born in 1900, so at the really beginning. So one war, second war, she was raised in Venice. Venice was a beautiful place, but what was not just the center of the world at that moment. We have just fascinating images of Venice in such a way, but she came from a wealthy family, and I wanted just to put the first picture of her when she was 20. Her father and mother has a little shop in Venice selling from oil to fabric to wherever they want. So they were wealthy, but not really rich. This is why when the father died, she was just she has to leave, she has to work. She cannot attend anything, school of art or wherever without gaining any money. So at the really beginning, she was attending the conservatory in Venice and then the Accademia of Art in Venice, because she realized that doing piano lesson 4 or 5 hours a day was not something that was suiting her at all. But this idea of music, this idea of rhythm, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We have to understand that there are some key words into Bichalanzari expression artworks. One of this is rhythm. Music is another one. This is why so many times we can combine in such a way clay with Bichalanzari. We will see along this brief conversation how so many terms and so many common sense about her works doesn't make any sense right now. She had a really solitary path. She was struggling with herself and for what she wants to be, and she wants to create by herself. This is one of the sentences about 1920. She was really pretty. So she said, painting has a mysterious process and endless words to bring our awareness. And she wants to point out in one of the interview that she gave to her husband. She said, I had been working since 1925 in the field of abstraction. Okay, what does it mean this right now? Field of abstraction. Okay, she was doing this. It's really, in that moment, we are talking about 1925, she was paint in a figurative way. She was doing portrait. She was, as you see, her portrait, self-portrait, as you see before. She was doing a landscape, but on the side, she was discovering her, as I say, an alphabet, her meaning of what a painting should be. And she was working because her father died when in 1928, and she has to leave. She has to get money, as I said before. She was doing some, at that time was called service design. What does it mean, service design? So she has to do drawings for pillow, carpet, a belt, bags, in a different way. At that time, it's really in a, may I say, in a sophisticated way, because at that time where all the lady wants to have flowers on the flowers or on the pillow, on the bag or wherever instead she was doing some, as we call later, minimalist drawings, like this one as well, like this one. Let us stop about 1929, the Red Square. This particularly drawings and artworks from Bichalanzari, it's really, really interesting. We didn't have in the show, unfortunately, because it belongs now to the Guggenheim collection. And when the Guggenheim collection did an incredible exhibition about Kandinsky and the abstract artist, Bichalanzari was the only woman in Italy who was included in the exhibition. It was really, really incredible. But that exhibition, the Kandinsky exhibition and the Kandinsky abstraction is totally different from the Bichalanzari way how to paint. I don't want to use just the word abstraction. It's totally, totally different. Because in Kandinsky, is just Kandinsky was talking about spiritual art. So all the artists were following him was just following just a spiritual art. Bichalanzari was religious, but was a spiritual in a totally different way. And we cannot say that her works are spiritual in the sense, using the sense of Kandinsky one word. In that moment, we have to consider that in Italy, Carlo Belli with KN wrote just what Kandinsky says was the gospel of abstraction, but we can't fit Bichalanzari in neither in Kandinsky nor in the Carlo Belli research or book. She's doing at that moment totally a unique path, as I say, alone and dealing only with herself. This is what I was talking about in 1929, a bag and belt. All the drawings that we saw before, like this one, like this one, like this one, like this one, were made exactly for creating incredible, beautiful a carpet or belt or bags. She brought this in Venice artistic scene in 1930. Was really something that she was dealing with. She was going, but we cannot say that she belongs to this movement of rationalist research. She was close with Carlo Scarpa, and we see as Carlo Scarpa was really a dear friend, not only dear friend, was just a sibling, not a siblings, but Carlo Scarpa married an aunt of Bichalanzari, so it's a really this a mix of a family issue in that moment. But we cannot say that Bichalanzari belongs to the KN, Kandinsky, or the rationalist research in Venice at that time. Again, you see, and ideally in my mind, the first drawings of Bichalanzari and the last drawing of Bichalanzari, just we can build up just a circle with the same idea of space, the same idea of light, the same idea of poetry, the same idea of telling a story. This is a question in 1930. You see how she's changing a little bit, red cut as well. Then at that time, she went to Milan. But later, she was working with Joe Ponti. But at that time, as we say, she has to work. So she worked now as a mural painter. Mural painter at NAP, at some exhibition in Milan, and then we see later in some cafe shop in Rome. doing, at the really beginning, doing this figurative, abstract paintings. You can see this one, and I put just close by another painting by Massimo Campilli, who was doing exactly the same figuration of women in that moment. And you see how it's really similar to this one. It's really something that she wants. And Massimo Campilli was in contact at that moment with the Etruscan, wherever, figuration, painting, sculpture, okay. Bichalanzari, no, but was influenced by him just in the composition of in the figure. And this figurative one is totally different by the one portrait or landscape that she did before. I would like just to point out all this little background of the paintings that we can find for sure later into the paintings, in some paintings of Bichalanzari, and later in her research about all around 57 once and 70 the second time. So look about this, and then we were talking about how she recuperated this sign and she evolved in another way. 57 was really important year for Bichalanzari. But before arriving to 57, I would like just to point out a little bit what does it mean for a woman be an artist, as I said before, a woman who is doing not figurative paintings, but abstract in this idea of abstraction. Abstraction during the fascists was totally forbidden because it was considered just a disease. So we have to think about abstraction as a disease. There were no magazine where she can find or confront or see what's going on out of Europe. She didn't travel that time. It was really hard to travel at that time. We were considered, after the Second War, was really, really bad. And so we have to consider she was totally alone in her research. At that point, and we will do it 2 times along this brief conversation, I would like just to point out how Bichalanzari, as a woman, as an artist, was dealing with the male world. There is an important study. There were a beautiful exhibition. There was just a beautiful exhibition at Pompidou 1 year ago. Now it's traveling. And there is another beautiful exhibition about women in arts at the Whitney Museum in New York. And I had just the chance just to talk with the curator. We were talking a lot, and we were close by and discover how, because I was interested in the Bichalanzari background, and in the meantime, just I was interested just in the background of some other artists in the United States or in England as well. Being a woman in art was really difficult. Maybe we can imagine how difficult it was. If you only consider that when the MoMA in 1936, so it's 20 years before, but was not different at that time, was doing an exhibition about Cubism and abstract art, there were no women at all. and we were talking about the iceberg of the art in that moment, the MoMA. So Gisela Pollock wrote a beautiful book about this, how women abstraction and art was something that cannot match each other, cannot be just together. The three terms cannot be together. So she decided in 1957, okay, I was doing figurative, I was doing, as you say, service design, or in Italy as arte applicata, or we can, I was trying to have this idea of abstraction, but now, okay, I have to start again. And she's doing with this idea of starting again three times, at least three times in her life. So in 1945, I start out all over again in abstract world. She say this. And what does it mean? Untitled 1949, this. Look at this one, Untitled 49, this. This kind of abstraction, they came, you see, this is a figure, as she was try to rearrange a figure with a triangle, with square, with sphere, with a round surface. It's much more similar to Afro, for example, all the movement in that moment. Afro was doing exactly the same in the same moment. I don't know if she saw something or she built her idea of art only by herself, because she was looking for a key. And have in mind this other word, key, in her life. A key how she can be seen, a key how people can recognize her paintings, key that means her way to display her emotion. And look at this. In 50, so when she decided exactly to start again, she was starting again to see what I can create right now. What will be my little key that I can be recognized? And for sure, she saw also another artist who is doing another key, Capogrossi. Look how similar in the idea of comparing Capogrossi. They call Capogrossi fork. Capogrossi was doing fork all his life long, and this is a fork of Capogrossi, and how she was similar to the idea to have some point line that can be combined together. But in 53, she was breathing again, and she said, "Okay, I have to start. I have to begin a new path, which is my new path." And she's doing this triangle with much more light, using pencil and pastel on paper. And the use of pastel on paper and the use of oil of acrylic is something that she using sometimes, just to when she needs to rest, when she needs to start a new path, she used pastel and pencil, and we see how she was using till the end, the very, very end of her life. Untitled 52, I would like just to point out, because this is really important, at the really beginning, she doesn't care about the space and the canvas. She was much more focused on the figure, abstraction, or recomposition, but not about the space of the canvas. The canvas can be just an empty space that I need to give some elements to fill. And now this obsession of space is something that it's really struggling her. And you can see in sometimes in her works how she can try to divide the space in 4, but then there is just some light square here to give just a little bit of deepness, and this other kind of blue. She was using, and in the exhibition that you see at the Estorick collection, we'll try with Roberta to put together color. So the blue, the red, the yellow, because she was dealing with different color. That different color means different light. Okay, look at this. And then after the pastel, after she was much more confident about what she wants to tell, she's doing oil with the same idea. See, with the same idea of dividing the space, with the same idea of deepness in the light zone, with the same idea of blue, with the same idea of giving, there is a shape, and so many times there is a little shape around that can give it just like a dialogue between shapes. And this is the red one, the red, have you seen the red one, and this one, how is such more similar in such a way, in the way she wants to divide the space, but she was in love now with, in 54, so 2 years after she was in love with the red, but the same concept is this one, and this one is the same concept, you see? And then in 57, she brought these beautiful sentences. The painting as a life. The artist creates a life, but then the painting is a life by himself. And this concept of little paintings came from the idea of mural that we saw before. So many times mural were just accustomed to see in the architecture of a building, of a wall. And she said, no, the mural has its private life. So many times we can see with the architecture, but so many times we can see without architecture. And so many times we see some mural that can be out of the environment where she was creating. And this is exactly the same idea that she was doing with the paintings. Oh, look at this. This is a really motif in red. So now, always dividing, always having some emotion that will come out. And especially she was just looking for how this is space of a canvas, empty space of a canvas can be filled with color, with different color. And you see at the really beginning, we were talking only about blue, and then we're talking about red. Now we're talking about this one was the blue and the red and the black and the white and the beige and another color are all together, creating just a scheme, but creating also a incredible emotion. And look at this. Okay, blue, other color, wherever. And we are talking about 55 here. the invention of a form and a color that contain a sign may be so effective as to provoke a declaration of a new emotionless. It's really because now what she wants, and we'll see just why we are going along the exhibition and the presentation, she was putting some much more story, much more emotion, much more, yes, emotion than she wants to share. The idea of sharing her feelings was really, really, really important for her. Look at this. Montplay 57. And now she starting again a new path after 57 till 63. She was part in a totally personal, unique way to the informal world. What does it mean, informal world? Informal world is just a term that we as a curator, as an art critic, we used to use with Michel Tapier, was using a term to, he was telling it in French, an autre, an art autre, another art, a different art, as we say just in English. So an art much more with we can use oil, but in the meantime we can use a glue, we can use a scent, we can use this idea of the paintings with not a flat surface, but is just something between sculpture and painting. So when you use glue and sand into the into the paintings, it's something totally new. In Italy, the informal current has just two major spots. One it was Lucio Fontana, and the other one was Burri. Bichalanzari was totally aware of both, but in the meantime was doing her path by herself, and she was doing the Epifable, or this incredible green informal piece on 1958, a huge one. The informal wants to give you just such an incredible emotion. At this point, when I have to talk about this informal pieces of Bice Lazzari, I used just to confront with Mark Rothko, when Mark Rothko says, when I paint, you have to see my paintings at a distance of 6 feet, because you can see close to them, but you have to be much more in distance to enter into the deepness of the paintings. But unfortunately, Bice got sick, but got sick because it was just a poisoning, using all this color, glue, sand, and so many colors. She was totally sick, so she had to stop using that kind of color, that kind of technique, and she started again, as we saw before, with the new materials, glue again, sand, but with tempera, mixed temperas and pencil. You remember what I said before? She using this tempera and pencil when she wants to start a new path. And this is the result of what we saw before. Paintings divided over the space, sign, deepness, and emotion that she wants to share with the viewer. 59 as well. And now she, you know, she couldn't confront to anybody. She has only a few art critics at that moment. She was following her. And she has some long conversation. There is some interview in the television. Now we are creating just a little documentary about her. And it's what was really, really interesting. And she was, okay, I'm free. So art for me, it's not a duty, it's a game. You know what a relief can be this for her? But in this game, I want to see the light of day. So the game has to be one of the serious results. So in the game, I would like just to go ahead. And she said, in my paintings, I love light, space, rigor, structure, synthesis, and a little poetry. And it's really important that one, a little poetry, because we see how she can create poetry with a little sign. Okay, so what's going on with Bice? We see her at the Biennale where she wasn't invited and she was refused so many times in her life, but she was at the table with Giacometti and with Carlo Scarpa. So she was introduced in a huge, famous environment, artistic environment at that time. Was really, really good, was unbelievable. But she was close to them, but she was not following them. Look at this, how this clay seems a clay paintings. And because this is now in 64, she was, as we say, before she was starting again, after she was poisoned by color, she was starting again and again. So she has to figure out how to manage. I got sick again in 64, and she had just a identity crisis. So she was 64 years old, and she was starting again. And we see she was starting again till she was 81. When I'm depressed, I'm thinking about Bichalanzari. So every single time she said, okay, I'm depressed, I don't want to do this. She was starting again, a new painting, a new value, and a new emotion, a new sensibility, and whatever. It's 64. And she was doing when she was 81. So, okay. When you are depressed in the morning, think about Bichalanzari and you will be much more happy. And what she creates right now, she's creating this little rod. She was starting in 64. And in some critic in such a way wants to be Bichalanzari close to Jean Fautrier. Jean Fautrier was a French artist who was just the chief of Touchism, or was the chief of lyrism and paintings. And so many times they try to compare Bichalanzari and him, because she said, okay, now, do you remember that I was talking with you about she was trying to find a key? The key was a note when she was playing music. The key was now a rod, a simple rod. Simple, really simple, like a pupil into school. And look, so this is why when I wrote this essay that you see and you can read into the catalog, you can see that I was comparing Bichalanzari with some women and women artists at that moment. One of the famous one for sure is Agnès Martin. She was doing exactly this kind of paintings. She was doing exactly, she was looking for the rod, for Agnès was a little square or a little line with color. For Bichalanzari was a rod, but the concept is exactly the same. And she say, I've been thinking about innocence, and then this greed came into my mind. So the greed of, I say before the square, the greed, it's a greed in Agnès Martin means the rod into Bichalanzari. And now again, 67, she was 67. Everything that's moving in space should have a poetry. And the color and the poetry and the rhythm and the color again and the shape should be all together telling a story, telling an emotion. And she was trying to do little thing. This is 25 or 25 centimeter. It's really interesting because at that moment, so many artists wants to do huge canvas. Instead she was trying to reduce her canvas. She was trying to reduce her measurements before she was doing a huge one, and then she would start again to do a huge one. But now she's doing a little square. And she's trying again. So an experiment that comes and goes with passing fashion, it must also become a value in historical terms. Ooh, what's incredible, she was 69. So look at this soundtrack. When you see this one, we had an exhibition at the Biennale of Venice, and we had all wall with this little square. Was really magnificent, was really incredible, was really speechless. And art is a truth that can change, it comes about. It's a moral commitment that calls for a complete dedication to discover new roads and new worlds. In 69, it's amazing. And she was doing, and you see Che Guevara in the back with so many times, she said, how much she was working with the fascists at that moment. She has to work with some fascist architect because she has to survive, but this is what she believes on. the photo of Che Guevara in that time. And look at now she's expanding again, and the space between the space of the canvases is she's trying to spread the space in such a way, and she starts to again to do a using acrylic. Was incredible. Was really difficult to her to change every single 10 years, 5 years, 8 years technique, because it soon she can deal with that technique. She has to change, and then she was in the hospital in that moment. Quite before she was creating acrylic, she was doing. She was in a hospital because she was starting to be blind, and we see how this effect in a few years. What's really incredible, because she said, when I was in the hospital, I was not desperate because I had just a huge white wall in front of me. So I create every single day different paintings in this huge white canvas in front of me. But she was doing all this 150 for 50 centimeter, mixed media on paper as well. and 71 for 81 centimeters sequence of the sign. So you see how the sign can talk each other. So you can see how she can divide the space of the canvas. But now at the beginning was a little rod, but now the rods try to occupy just a different part of the canvas and try just to talk each other with a grid into the background. This is why the grid we compare with Agnes Martin, with we were talking before. 72 years old, art is a sign of love that man seeks to give to others. This idea of sharing that she was dealing with, she was struggling with since 1957, now as some words that she can say aloud. Art is a sign of the love that man seeks to give to others. This is Bichalanzari. See the one, again, little canvas 25 or 25. Huge, 25 or 38. You see how now she can divide it into different, and the idea of to give the deepness of some colors still is in her mind. Before it was blue, red, yellow. Now is all kind of red in that moment. This is one of my favorite one, 75 or 75. It's really, really beautiful. See how she's totally unusual. She's totally unique. Line 4 in 75. And she say, this is before she say art offered endless opportunity for research. She was researching all the time long. And I went to the hospital, I say, for 2 months in mobility, what I say before. Now I say, okay, I can play, I can project playful images, rhythms and space intersected by segment in this huge canvas, the white wall in front of me. This came from the hospital idea. This is some drawings, and this came from the hospital idea. And I would like, and then she died. That one was 79. She was quite totally blind with one eye. Another one was a little bit, but she continued till the end to do simple drawings with simple pen, one black, one white, and one red. And this one is the last drawings of Bichalanzari that she did a few days before she died. There is another one just on her table. And she continued with only one eye to continue to struggling with space, light, color, emotion, deepness, sharing. It's a really important. It's really unique. I really love her, and she was 81 years old. And at the end, she was always writing some poem, and this poem she wrote exactly a few months before she passed away. And her life, I would like just to say, it's a metaphysical dream. Okay, this is only, I finished right now. I'm out of the time. I know Roberta is killing me. But
no, I think
if I start,
thank you very much, Renato. And we can now wait if there are some questions, or I can, if people want to sort of type them on the chat, then I can read them to Renato. I also wanted to say it's quite interesting to see all the slides, and but also the difference. And I hope lots of people that will come and see the exhibition, because despite they're fairly modest in size, some of the paintings and the drawings, but also makes so much different to see them in real life. And there's
Yes.
the flatten, because they are very vibrant and very tactile. And there's so it's, I think I will encourage everybody to,
Stay 6 feet
come and see it.
And stay 6 feet out of the paintings, and you enter in another dimension, a door that Bichalanzari was opening for you. I'm here.
Is what we reading is that one is that did she know did she do much the poetry?
Yes.
She write many poems.
Yeah, because you know the idea of poem is the idea of music. So a poem is just a rhythm like music has. So she came from conservatory in Venice, and she was reading. She wrote a lot of poems, a lot of thought, a lot of diary. Yes, a lot.
And also I got another.
And that was really helpful when we have to understand her mental process.
There's another comment that says, what a passionate vocation of an artist. Thank you. And did she know Annie Albers? Or at least, well, not Annie, did she know Annie Albers' work?
No. We really don't know. No, the artist that she used to mention was not the one. Almost absolutely not. And you see how so many times I'm thinking about how the unconscious that will pass by, and it's really incredible. It's really good. No, she wasn't in contact with him.
As a part of the lots of comments how wonderful the lecture has been, and as everybody
we can do another one.
There is another one, as I was saying, maybe I should just do this. I saw the exhibition last week. I love the rhythm and the musicality of Lazzari's work. Could Renato say a bit more about her love of music and his influence on her art?
Yeah, so she was. As I said before, she was attending the conservatory. So she has a rhythm when she was a child. She was attending the conservatory when she was 8 years old. So she has this rhythm in her mind, and then she say repeating the note with the piano. No, after four or 5 years, she was 4 years till she was 12 years old. She was attending the conservatory. So this idea of rhythm came in her mind, and I see the line, the rod, like a note. And it's not about me. It's about so many art critics are talking about the same. But and then in the meantime, she was writing poem. Poem is a word. Rhythm who needs rhythm. Rod, line is a rhythm. Note is a rhythm. So all this came in her mind.
So another question we have is, did she like opera?
Sorry, I didn't study yet. I'm sorry. I will find out. I will find out.
Exactly. You don't know everything.
I don't want to lie. You know what I mean? I don't want to lie. I say, oh yes, no, I don't.
No, exactly. Also, there's and there's also the other. We can close that. Why wasn't she? I think you explained at the beginning why she wasn't well known, and is I think is getting there now.
Yeah, exactly. At that time, the only women known was during the Futurists at the beginning. So Benedetta, blah 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 blah. Then after the Forma Uno, manifest, Carla Cardi was the one, and that's it. And that's it. So we don't have women in Italy that time important.
Also, somebody's asking about if poetry was published. I think it was much more private thing than is.
Yes, private things. We I start with another 2 catalogs before mine. I start publishing a thought, a diary, a piece of diary when I did the exhibition at the Biennale.
Exactly. I think it's well, we can probably let people go, but again, thank you very much, Renato. It's been a pleasure, and I think everybody enjoyed it very much. My last thing is obviously the exhibition is on until the 24th of April, and if you would like to see which other activities we have, some talks in the galleries or activities for children, please check our website where all the details will be there. And also we are an independent museum and a charity, so we do our activity, especially online for free. So if you'd like to donate and contribute to our program, exhibition and talks, please help us with the donation. And following this exhibition, we'll have an exhibition about Archipenko and the Italian avant-garde, which will explore the works of one artist is Ukrainian and American with the Italian avant-garde, the first part of the 20th century. And I hope everybody will come and see the exhibition, and also there is a catalog for sale, and which you will find all the details on our website. I'm just looking at well, there's everybody thanking us. I think is we can leave.
Really, thank you, Roberta. Thank you to everybody to listen to me. We can do again if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.